Welcome back to Utah's Gentleman Farmer. I wanted to introduce my daughter Mackenzie. When she was little, I wouldn't say little, but like 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there, when we had chickens, she always said that she wanted to have lots and lots of chickens when she grew up, and that everyone in the neighborhood would call her the crazy chicken lady or the crazy bird lady, because she's had parrots and other birds too. She's just always had an affinity for fowl, no pun intended. So why do you keep chickens? And we'll also talk a little bit about your quail.
Probably the biggest reason why I keep chickens is that it is healthier to keep your own chickens, even if it's just for egg production. You always have control over what goes into the chickens and thereby what goes into you through their eggs and through their meat. I have complete control over their diets. I know exactly what they're eating. You don't always know what you're getting when you buy eggs at the store.
Yeah, you hear horror stories about animals that have been pumped full of antibiotics and steroids and this kind of stuff. And then on top of it, they're kept in close cages. They're abused in some cases. And so you can also feel good about the food that you're eating, that it was raised in a humane manner.
Unfortunately, the poultry industry is actually considered one of the most inhumane because there aren't a lot of regulations about what chickens need to be raised properly. There are a lot more restrictions on raising cattle than there are for raising poultry. So like you said, most poultry are raised in very close quarters. Because of that, disease is very prevalent, and
When they're close
close together. And then on top of that, to counteract the disease, they pump you full of, like you said, steroids, medications, antibiotics. When you own your own chickens at home, like I said, you have 100% control of what they eat. But if you do it properly, you can hopefully free range your chickens at home. We have a coop and we have a run, which is like a designated area for them. But on sunny, pretty days, we let them outside and they can free roam through our backyard and scratch and peck. And they like to eat the grass. They will eat any bugs that they find. They like to sit out in the sunshine.
They have a good life.
Yeah, they have a much better life if you raise them yourself and you give them the opportunity to free range. On top of that, there's also the freshness of the eggs. When you get your own eggs, most eggs aren't going to be more than a week old before you use them. When you go and buy eggs in the store, they're going to be a few weeks to a month old by the time you buy them. Not even the same when you use them. You go to a store and you buy a carton of eggs, you're not going to use the carton of eggs within a few days. It's still going to be another few weeks before you use all of them. And that means most of the eggs that you're using from the store are going to be 6 weeks old by the time they get used.
Right. I used to work for a chicken farmer when I was a teenager. Really bad work. Gathering the eggs was the best part of it. The egg producer, one of the egg producers I knew, he said that the average egg, now it may have changed a little, but the average egg in the store was a month old. And that's when you buy it. I don't know how they can ethically say these are fresh eggs, but they do.
And another thing that they never talk about is that there is actually a film on eggs when they are laid. There is a protective film over the outside of the egg. Eggs in store are sanitized, which scrubs off that outer layer. And actually makes it so the eggs go bad quicker. Whereas if you get an egg fresh from a chicken that still has that sheath, and you don't scrub it, you don't wash it or anything like that, you just leave it, that protective film is still there and it will actually stay fresh longer.
Okay. Now, we also talked a little bit earlier. You don't have just chickens, you also have quail. Why do you want quail? Aren't chickens enough?
No.
Not for the crazy bird lady.
So quail are great because they too produce a lot of eggs. We have Coturnix quails, which are the largest breed of quail. They lay about 1 egg a day per hen, which is comparable to most chickens as well. There have been studies that show that quail eggs are actually more nutritious than chicken eggs. They have more vitamins, more protein in them. And the nice thing about quail is they take up considerably less space than chickens do. Chickens require about 3 square feet per chicken. A quail, you need half a square foot per quail to be able to keep them comfortably.
But aren't quail, I mean, the obvious drawback is, the eggs might be good, but aren't they like tiny? Like the size of a quarter? Or a little bit bigger?
Coturnix quails are a little bit bigger.
Yeah, maybe I'm saying that because I see California quail.
Yeah.
And they have really tiny eggs.
Yeah, Coturnix quail eggs are a little bit bigger.
They're pretty too.
They're very pretty. They're
speckled.
They're very brown, like tan with like brown speckles on them. Very pretty. You can do anything with quail eggs that you can do with chicken eggs. They're just a little bit smaller.
It takes an awful lot to scramble up some eggs. But yeah, I mean, when I had never heard of the idea of eating quail eggs until I lived in Brazil. And I was just so surprised at every market. They always had street markets. You didn't go to a grocery store very often. They always had these street markets, and you'd get these quail these little bags, and they were full of I think they usually packed about 2 dozen quail eggs in them. And they just boil them. They don't try to fry them or anything. They boil them, they shell them, and then they put them on like salads or in a macaroni salad. And that way you don't have to chop up eggs or anything. They just put them in whole, which is actually a really cool concept.
The other draw, I'd say, to quail is that they mature a lot faster than chickens do. For Coturnix quail, they will start laying eggs at 6 weeks, where a chicken will start laying eggs at 6 months. So you can get them to producing age a lot quicker. You can also use them for meat, just like you use chickens for meat. And again, that's an upside, is that you can have a ready-to-eat quail at 6 weeks. For poultry, it is a little less. You can have a ready-to-eat chicken by 6 to 8 weeks, but typically you have to get...
But they're not going to be full-grown. They're really like the Cornish game hens.
Yeah, they're going to be smaller unless you get a chicken that is bred specifically to be a meat chicken, in which case those ones will get larger in a shorter amount of time.
And you have some of those.
And we do have some of those, and you can see, he'll probably show the video, you can see the size comparison between a bird that was bred for meat and a bird that was bred for eggs. The bird that's bred for meat is half the age, but it's bigger. Than the one that was bred for eggs. If you get an egg chicken and you want to slaughter it for meat, and you wait for it to be full grown, it's not going to be like a store-bought chicken meat. It's going to be
a little tougher, and not as much meat there.
Yeah, they just don't get as big.
It's like a leghorn. That's your typical standard egg-laying hen, and they're really skinny. There's just not a lot on them.
Yeah, most chickens are actually very skinny. Most of them are, for lack of a better term, toned. Like, they're very skinny. They have a lot of muscle, but it's not.
Well, it's not. Beefy. Yeah, it's not like big leg, leg or the breast meat's not going to be there.
A lot of egg chickens don't even have breast meat. Like, you can pick up an egg layer and you can feel its chest, and
bone.
There's not anything there. You can feel the bones. So yeah, I definitely suggest if you're doing chickens for meat, make sure to get meat specific chickens and not just average
Any
chickens.
chicken. Okay. Here we are. We've made a little transition into Mackenzie's chicken coop. Anyway, tell us about these different chickens. Some of these are chickens I have never seen before or even heard of. So go ahead.
So
What's this?
So this is an Easter egger. This is just a baby. This is our special needs chicken. She actually has a beak that is overly curved, and the tip of the beak curves over the bottom. So it's really hard for her to eat. So we have to trim her beak down on a regular basis.
She's very gentle.
She's very gentle, probably because we hold her all the time to trim her beak.
She came right up to me.
Yep. So we have a couple Easter eggers. And then we have, I guess, what would be considered just a barnyard mix. We don't keep any specific breed. We just keep all of our breeds together. We've got some Polish. We've got some Frizzle.
Hey, why don't you kind of point out which ones are what? That is a crazy looking chicken.
This crazy fluffy one right here is what's called a Polish. They have afros. And then this little annoying one right here, she's kind of the bully. She is the smallest chicken, so she tries to assert herself, and she's mean to all the other chickens, but she is what's called a English game hen. The small one right next to her, the small brown one, that is what's called a Sarama. They are the smallest breed of chicken. And then we have Frizzles, which are these fluffy chickens.
Fluffy white ones.
The fluffy white ones.
They have feathers all the way down to their claws.
They look like they're wearing pants. And then we have, that is just a little tiny brown Brahma bantam.
So what's a bantam?
A bantam is a mini chicken. So if something is like, you can actually get Polish bantams. So it would be this type of chicken, but it would be smaller. So this is a Brahma bantam. And then this little guy with the little floof of hair on top, that is an Easter egger that we hatched out ourselves back in November.
What do you mean by an Easter egger?
An Easter egger is a chicken that is mixed with either Araucana or Americana so that it lays color eggs like blue or blue or green or pink. The pink is actually just kind of like a light tan.
So they're pre-colored eggs.
Pre-colored eggs of blue, green, and pink.
They're called Easter eggs.
Yeah, so that little guy over there is an Easter egger. This tan one right here is also an Easter egger. She only lays green eggs though. You've noticed she doesn't lay the 3 different colors. She only lays green. So we're hoping when this one's not full grown yet, but we're hoping when she's full grown, she will lay maybe some blue eggs. And then these 2 beautiful black ones are what are called Ayamsamanis. They are a pretty unusual chicken. They come from the Middle East. They are entirely black. Their eyes are black, their feet are black, their skin's black, and even their internal organs are black. So those are pretty interesting chickens. They're not very commonly found, but we found a pair, and we like them a lot because we think they're beautiful. And then you can probably see there's lots of chicks running around. We've got some additional, the black chicks running around are, something to me. The black chicks running around are Easter eggers, and these white chicks running around are Cornish. Cornish are meat chickens. You can actually see if I compare these 2 chicks. Oh, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay. So you can see this chick is about a month old. This chick is half its age. It's 2 weeks old, and it's bigger than the month-old chicken because these chickens were bred specifically to be meat chickens.
And so they grow incredibly
very fast. You typically butcher meat chickens at about 6 to 8 weeks. So
most of these chickens, with the exception of the Cornish that you just showed, these are all egg-laying chickens. We got lots of eggs from you guys. We appreciate that. It's nice to have eggs that are days old instead of weeks or months old. They're so tasty. Even if, I mean, this frizzle,
Oh,
little eggs about that big. Oh yeah.
this is a turkey, by the way. This is a baby turkey. We have one little turkey friend.
And he's going to be
Thanksgiving dinner.
Don't tell him. Yes. Mackenzie has raised turkeys before and slaughtered them and cooked them. So she's pretty much a homesteader. She's not afraid of that kind of stuff. I'm more leery of killing things than she is. So this is an incubator, and these eggs are about ready to hatch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And these are what, like day-old chicks?
Uh-huh. These hatched yesterday.
And we're going to post a bit of footage of the black one hatching, I believe it was. Is this an Easter egger?
Yep, that's the pink color that you get from Easter eggers.
Interesting. So, but
You can also see there's a green egg right there and a blue egg right there.
Turquoise, yeah. They stay warm. So these are supposed to hatch sometime tomorrow.
Hopefully.